Today we're going to be talking about Illyana Rasputin, Magik. She has a long and convoluted history that isn't very linear. She jumps back and forth in time, so we're going to talk about that. If you didn't know there were two people that went by the name Magik, this video is for you. Hey, what's going on, all my friends? This is Jesse. You're watching JL's Comics. Thanks for pressing play once again. Today we're going to be talking about Magik, her history, her origin, her power set. It's a little bit complicated. She is a time traveler, not only through space but time, so her story is not entirely linear. So I'm going to break this up. I'm going to give you some key issues in the chronological sequence that they were published, and then we're going to talk about her history, but more in a chronological order, which doesn't necessarily follow the same order that those books will. But let's give you a little bit of background about Magik. She was created by Dave Cockrum and Len Wein. She first appeared as a baby, an unnamed baby that is, in Giant Size X-Men #1 all the way back in 1975. She has for quite a while just been sort of relegated to the background of the X-Men teams. But the last few years she's kind of grown to the forefront. She's gaining in popularity very rapidly, and this is a very appropriate time for a video like this. I'll tell you why in a second. She has a few aliases. She goes by Magik, of course her name Illyana Rasputin, also Illyana Rasputina. She's been known as Darkchild, she's been known as Enchantress. Lately, she's been training with Doctor Strange and is in line to become Sorcerer Supreme. She's also been known as Black Magik and the Master of Limbo. Magik has died about 3 times, come back of course. Uncanny X-Men 303 she passed was one of them. And her power set is very varied as well. She's a formidable foe. She can teleport through not only time but space, as I said, and she summoned what she calls stepping discs in order to do so. She can levitate. She has the power of necromancy. She can absorb souls. When she was in, and we're going to talk about this, but when she was in Limbo, she became a master martial artist, a master swordsman. She trained with the cat. I'll tell you who she is. And she possesses a soul sword. She possesses Eldritch Armor. I'll talk about that as well as being able to project herself in the astral plane. So first appearance, some key issues to look for would be Giant Size X-Men that was made in 1975. As I said, she was a baby and she was unnamed at the time. It wasn't until Uncanny X-Men #145 that we got her name. And then we saw Uncanny X-Men #160. People say that this is the first appearance of the adult Illyana Rasputin. She had a time jump ahead about 7 years. Uncanny X-Men 171. Key issue for a couple reasons, but also we see the first appearance of her soul sword. In 1983, she had a miniseries called Storm and Illyana. It was a 4-part miniseries, and this chronicled her time in Limbo, that time right when around issue 160 when she had that time jump. Another important key issue for her would be New Mutants #14, where she officially became Magik and joined the New Mutants team. In New Mutant 77, she left the team. Uncanny X-Men 303, she died of what was called the Legacy virus, and we'll talk about that as well. Then New X-Men issues 38 through 41, which came out about 10 years ago. As of this recording, it was 2007 when those came out. She was resurrected. It was the Quest for Magik, it was called. And why do I say that this is a very appropriate time to be discussing her? Well, she is going to be played by Anya Taylor-Joy in the upcoming Josh Boone movie, The New Mutants. I believe it comes out in 2018, next year. So she is transcending not only comic books and graphic novels, but stepping into the movie world as well. She's going to have a cinematic appearance. She was in the 90s X-Men TV show as well, first appearing in an episode called Red Dawn, which highlighted her story about when she was living in Russia and her brother Colossus saved her. There was a runaway tractor that lived on a farm, and that was kind of when his powers first manifested, was when that tractor ran away. He ran up to it, pushed out of the way, saved her life. But Illyana is also in some games. She's a playable character in Contest of Champions, which is on my iPhone, something I play quite a bit. She's a pretty cool character when she spins around with a sword and there's like flames everywhere. She's in Marvel Heroes, which is a massive multiplayer online game of MMO. And she's a non-playable character in X-Men Legends, voiced by very famous voice actress named Tara Strong. So those are some key issues for her. Those are kind of her books to look for. There's some really beautiful, I'll show them on the screen here for you, some really beautiful variant covers by Adi Granoff, Gabrielle Delato, J. Scott Campbell, Art Adams, and you name it. There's some really, really beautiful, stunning covers out there. And I would catalog those with the key issues as very sought after Magik appearances, those cover appearances. So let's talk about her history. Magik, well, to start with, we have to go back 100 years before she was born. Her ancestor, Grigory Rasputin, made a deal with Nathaniel Essex, Mr. Sinister, to create a mutant bloodline, and subsequent generations would all be mutants. He thought this was a great idea. This was chronicled, and this may be another thing to look for as well. X-Men Colossus Bloodline, that came out in 2005. So that talked about her backstory, her family's backstory. Fast forward 100 years to Soviet-era Russia, and she was born as the youngest of 3 in her family. Mikhail Rasputin, who's a supervillain in the X-Men Marvel universe, and Pyotr Rasputin, Colossus, is her brother. She was abducted when she was 6 years old by the villain Arcade, who was the leader of Murder World, and she was brought to the U.S. He had concocted a plot to pit the X-Men versus Doom, but kind of holding her hostage in order to carry that out. She was rescued and she was brought to the X-Mansion. Later, very shortly thereafter, in fact, she was abducted by the demon Belasco and trapped in limbo. He wanted these 50 bloodstones that were part of an amulet. His souls were in them, in order to basically escape from there. There were a couple other realities, a couple other dimensions or versions of some characters. One was Storm, and this dimension's character taught Illyana spells and magic and how to cast those spells. She ended up passing, but there was another character who was a dimensions version of Shadowcat called the Cat, and she's the one who taught her close quarters combat with martial arts, hand-to-hand combat, swordsmanship. Eventually, Illyana was able to extract a piece of her soul from her own body and create the soul sword, and that's what she used to take over Limbo. Not that long after. I mean, she returned to Earth, and right at that X-Men 160 period, she had aged 7 years. That's how long she was in Limbo, but no time had passed on Earth. So they almost didn't believe her at first when she came back and she was older. She was regularly, kind of a background character for the X-Men, for a while. She had a couple interesting stories, but there was one particularly interesting story. She would regularly take trips through Limbo via her stepping discs, her teleportation ability, and she actually trapped the New Mutants in Limbo. She to be able to get a new portal open to send them back while in Limbo, she had to embrace her darker, her more demon side to kind of force that open. And there was another demon there named Nastir, and he seized upon that opportunity with it open. He forced it to stay open and unleashed hordes of demons, hordes of these horrible creatures onto Earth. This massive invasion. And that was a really fantastic story, really classic 80s story called Inferno. You have to read it. She ended up ending the invasion and retaking control of Limbo at the end and sealed the portal shut. She was able to throw her soul sword into it and seal the portal shut. And then back on Earth, they found the husk of her Eldritch Armor, which is something that would kind of come to life. The more she used her magic, this armor, this magical, mysterious armor would just appear on her. So they found, the New Mutants found a husk. It was like an empty, it was the armor, but it was empty, except for a 7-year-old Illyana just kind of laying inside of it. This small girl inside this big, magical, mystical armor. They took the 7-year-old Illyana and said, "Hey, we're going to send you back to your parents. You're going to go back to Russia. You're going to live with them. You're still a young girl. Hasn't been that long. For her it has, but for them it hasn't. So she went to Russia, and lo and behold, her parents were murdered by the government, no less. During this time, her soul sword had passed to Shadowcats, one of her friends who she's kind of developed a connection with. So she got the soul sword. And then basically the soul sword was acquired by Nightcrawler, who was an old lover of somebody named Amanda Sefton. Now, Amanda Sefton is the second person to carry the name Magik, and the reason she did that was she wanted to rule Limbo. She was brought up by this witch who gave her, power of spell, power to kind of cast herself, and she kind of wanted to trick people in Limbo to say, "Hey, I'm Magik. I'm going to rule this place." So that's what she did. She acquired the name, but the soul sword, she didn't have the soul sword. It was actually hidden inside of Nightcrawler, inside of his body. Her and Nightcrawler kind of go way back. These be old lovers, and they kind of came over to America at separate times and was able to reconnect. Shortly after this, Illyana had actually come back, and she acquired the what was called the legacy virus. Essentially, it's an analog of the HIV virus. She succumbed to it. Her brother Colossus was out on a mission at the time. He wasn't home when she passed. It was a time when Professor X actually tried to, revive her and try to save her, but they couldn't. So she died. It was a really sad issue. It was Uncanny X-Men 303. They buried her on the grounds of the X Mansion in Westchester, and that's where she stayed for a while. She was able to, her soul stayed alive, so she was able to project herself astrally. At one time, she appeared to her brother Colossus, and was able to just kind of say, hey, and Colossus was devastated by this whole thing. He was very, very not in a good place at the time. There was a time during House of M with Scarlet Witch, and she kind of was able to give people what they wanted for their reality to come true. And one thing that Colossus, because he was so devastated after all this time, was to have his sister come back, to have Illyana come back. So she came back at this time, and meanwhile, Belasco had been ruling Earth while she had died. Belasco detected the presence of her on Earth, and he actually created a spell to return her to Limbo to him. He actually realized when he detected that he missed her, but he ended up creating something without the soul. Her soul was away. So this was a corrupted, just a soulless version, dark, no heart, and it was called, this version was called Darkchild. That's where she got the name Darkchild. So there was this one point they came and they tried to, they thought she was there. Another time when she was in Limbo, the X-Men tried to rescue her. One of her friends, her name's Pixie, to help her, she actually tried to create her own soul sword using a piece of her own soul. While she was doing it, she was interrupted, and she created a smaller version. It was a soul dagger. So she was able to still, with the soul dagger, stab Belasco, which allowed Magik to kind of win and retake Limbo. This was a quest for Magik, it was called. It was New X-Men issues 38 to 41. So if you want to add that to your list of, issues to look for, there you go. There's one for you. Later on, Pixie and Nightcrawler were kind of teleporting around and just having fun with it. They ended up in the danger room, and Nightcrawler was asking her some questions about, hey, the dagger and stuff. And she just allowed herself to be overcome with her anger in that darker side of her and that animosity she had. And she took the soul dagger and she actually stabbed Nightcrawler with it. She stabbed Nightcrawler. Illyana was kind of stuck in Limbo at the time, so she she teleported to the danger room because she said, "Oh, I feel like the soul sword or the soul dagger there." I guess the open wound exposed that. But Pixie pulled out the soul dagger and realized that the soul sword was actually hidden inside of Nightcrawler. Illyana basically was able to, through the story, get the soul sword back in her possession. She went back to Limbo. That was a story, by the way, called Ex Infernus. Really great story. Recommend it. While Illyana had come to the Danger Room to get her soul sword back, it was just a quick opportunity for Belasco's daughter named Witchfire to actually take control of Limbo. So Illyana had to go back, fight Witchfire. The X-Men chased her to Limbo. She ended up winning, basically. But she decided to go back to Earth, to our world, with the X-Men and stay there. So she has been basically with the X-Men on Earth ever since. Cyclops would use her to kind of like teleport the team around really quickly around Earth. You know, if they needed to be advanced, rapid response teams, boom, teleport, you're there. So he was using her for that. At one point, during AVX, she was on his side. She acquired part of the Phoenix Force for herself. Her sword sort of evolved and started to look more like the Phoenix Blade, which is what we have now. After Secret Wars, which ended at the end of 2015, she had to hide the X-Men in Limbo. She took them there to protect them from the Terrigen Mist, which was something deadly to their species, but which helped the Inhumans. So that kind of led into Inhumans IVX. Later on, she was actually training with a past version of Doctor Strange to be next in line for being the Sorcerer Supreme. So there you go. That's her history. She's kind of one of the only characters to upgrade the ranks, essentially, from being a New Mutant up to a full, active roster X-Men. So that's her history. Those are her books you should look for. Hope this helped you. If you like this, please hit that subscribe button. I'm always looking for people to join the JLS Comics family. And if you want a history or origin of a particular character, please let me know. I'd be more than happy to do it. We'll get that on the schedule here for the channel. As always, leave the comments down below. I love interacting and hearing from you. And that should do it. This is Jesse here, JLS Comics, and hit the subscribe button right here, and there's a couple more videos for you to watch as well. I'll see you guys soon. Thanks.